All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope you made some great connections. And we'll take a couple of minutes now if you'd like to highlight your discussion and talk about what you learned and who you met with in your in your in your group.
Marge, do you want to introduce yourself because you're a new member?
No pressure, Marge. Where are you? Come on, Marge. You're muted.
My apologies. I said, thank you, Brenda, for pushing me forward. Glad you heard that part. So, yes, thank you, Judith, for the invite to this group. And I met Brenda, Dana Messier, and she's from Rhode Island, and certainly has been a supporter of this group for many years. And so I was very happy to meet her and be in that group. And she wants to maintain policies as they are and see what's new. I also met Adam. Adam unfortunately didn't get a chance to finish his introduction, but he is from Dallas and a fellow, and is in a fellow in one of the cohorts, and he started telling us 2020 when he's been in the reentry, and didn't get a chance to tell us some more, but I was excited to meet both of them. Thank you, guys.
And Marge, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? We
Um,
met in another cohort, and you asked about how you can get connected with individuals that are pushing for education, because that is one of your goals. So you want to tell us a
Right.
little bit about why you're here?
Yeah, I had an aha moment when I realized that I've really been in education for many, many years, and it took different forms. I'm a scientist. I spent about 30 years as a scientist,
Wow.
and I'm a former professor, assistant professor at the university, again, maybe 25 years ago. And then my path took me into more detailed virology in terms of science. But all along the way, I have had an educational component over the course of the last 35 years or more. Just won't keep dating myself, but or more. So I've always been in education. And so as I have come into this reentry, I've decided that that's the career pathway I choose to be involved in. Thank you for the opportunity to say that.
Well, hello, Marjorie. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you for being in this space. We really appreciate your presence. And we have Dorian.
Hello. I was in a room with some South Carolina folks, I believe. It was very nice to meet them. My name is Dorian Dove. I am a recent P2P scholar. I just graduated in the 36 cohort. They have drastically propelled my life forward. I'm now a part of the Speakers Bureau. I am a mentor for a person I've introduced to prison to professionals in person. And so I'll be able to give him hands-on resources as I grow through P2P and as he grows through P2P. And through the help of P2P and graduating through this program, I was actually able to be released from probation a year and a half early, about last week or the week before. I've met Dr. Andres in person. Mancy is always great, and it's to virtually meet all of you all. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to being an advocate and a leader in this space. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So wonderful. And is there one more that wants to share real quick before we get started with our speakers?
I'll share. This was the first time I got to meet Trip.
Yes.
So Trip is in Seattle, and he has a couple degrees in higher education, and he's looking to find the right role for him to support education and prison efforts in that area. And so if anyone has some good connections, we were just starting to go down that road of the stuff that he's done in his past. So welcome, Trip.
And not just that, I'd like to add also the Trip, and I had this for later on in the agenda, but since you brought it up, Trip, he has committed to be our event sub chair. So we're excited to join, that he's going to be joining our leadership team, and we'll talk a little bit further about that in later on in the agenda. But welcome, Trip, not only for our community, but also in our leadership team. And with that, I will now bring it on to our Hill Day event. I just want to real quick recap on what we went through last month. And we had about 27 advocates representing 10 organizations. I just want to bring this out real quick, with which we met with 30 legislators, 14 states. And again, we're working to have another Hill Day event, hopefully sometime later on this year. So be on the lookout for further information on that. Be on the lookout on how you can join forces and on how you can push for our advocacy and our goals and access to higher education. One of our members that went to this Hill Day event is our guest speaker today, Barbie Brown from THEI, Tennessee Higher Education. So I'm excited to introduce her as one of our speakers today. We are amplifying the voices and information for the EdTrust policy recommendations. We have Barbie Brown kicking us off, and I believe we have another fellow joining us as well. And with that, I'll bring it to Barbie.
Thank you, Judith. Hello, everyone. I will briefly introduce myself. My name is Barbie Brown. My day job is the Director of Policy and Practice with the Tennessee Higher Education Initiative in Nashville, Tennessee. We facilitate all directly ran higher education degree-bearing programs inside facilities across the state of Tennessee, including both associate as well as bachelor degree programs. About to expand, thank you to a grant from Ascendium, into the associate arts arena with a degree in social justice, by the way. Super excited about that. But that is forthcoming. In the policy arena, I have the privilege to work with and for currently incarcerated, post-incarceration, directly impacted folks as we attempt to really break down these thousands of collateral consequences, these barriers to successful living both inside and outside, and also ensure that everyone has equitable access to high quality higher education, no matter their current address. Do that also with this coalition. Unlike Higher Ed was gratefully a part of that Hill Day recently, amazing event. And unlike Higher Ed serves the same purpose as well that I'm going to talk to you about today. We're going to talk a lot about access. And I'm going to come to you from the point of view of part of the third cohort of the Education Trust Justice Policy Fellowship. Thankfully, I am one of 7 individuals. You will also hear from Adam, who is a fellow cohort member, and I also want to give a shout out to someone that's not on the screen right now. Roderick Jackson is also in the audience. If you see one EdTrust fellow, you see many. We do not travel alone. We come in groups. So thank you both for being here today with us as well. With my day job, THEI is also the fiscal representative and sponsor of the Southern HEP Collective, which spans those 14 southeastern states. Again, another coalition, because we don't do this work alone. So I serve as that fiscal representative, and I've also done some organizing in there, and also serve as the facilitator of Tennessee Prison College Coalition, which brings together all of the decision makers in HEP across Tennessee. We have created a PEP review board that all of those incoming PEP applications in Tennessee will go through the review board, which is really that panel of stakeholders that the regulations call for. That review board will then make the recommendation to our DOC as to whether to approve, deny, or request more information from that incoming PEP. So that is a huge thing that we've been able to accomplish. And I lead that board. So as PEP applications actually come in the state of Tennessee, they come to me first, which is huge, being a formerly incarcerated person sitting in that position now. So you may ask yourself, why, with this work experience that she just listed, and being in this field for about 4 years now, why a fellowship? Well, fellowships look different for us. And I say us, I mean directly impacted folks working in the field of higher education in prison. I was incarcerated for 17 years from the age of 18 to 35, 36. That's a big chunk of learning, experience outside of prison that I did not have access to. While inside, I encountered a HEP program that afforded me the opportunity to gather or to gain my bachelor degree before I walked out. I took advantage of that, but that degree also didn't give me that life experience of those 17 years that I spent inside a facility. So what you'll see in our field in fellowships is folks that don't match the typical demographic, the age demographic of what you would typically see an intern or a fellow look like. Because many of us have spent so much time inside that now we will take any and all opportunities to gain the experience that we didn't have. So that is exactly why I have tried for the last 2 years to get this EdTrust fellowship and finally did. And I'll tell you why. There are tons of reasons why. One, just basics. It's a 1-year fellowship with the Education Trust, which is a national organization, having state offices in some states, including Texas, including Tennessee. It's a 1-year fellowship that is paid. Many fellowships are not paid at all, or some fellowships can only pay what's within their budget. The Education Trust, excuse me, being a national organization, has that financial repertoire to be able to pay fellows, I think, what we would say we deserve for the work that we're doing. And that's huge. That is a big step for many of us who have never experienced this amount of money, who have never experienced a situation where we are treated with privilege coming out of an oppressive situation. So this is a huge part of this fellowship, and provides the foundation for so much more. During that 1 year, you have the network of EdTrust and all of their collaborators across the nation. We just did a boot camp in Washington, D.C., where we met folks not only from our own individual states, but from D.C. working in the national office, as well as folks from all over the nation that do not work with EdTrust, but who highly respect it just as we do. And we were able to literally sit down and have meals with these folks. It's huge. The network is huge. We learn from other directly impacted individuals. The managers of our fellowship are also part of previous cohorts of the EdTrust Justice Fellows, formerly incarcerated themselves. So we learn from each other and also have exposure to policy experts that we wouldn't have had exposure to previously. We've had the availability already to sit down and have conversations with funders who have readily invited us to follow up. And many of us have already followed up in that. So really what we get out of these fellowships are keys that we may have missed due to our incarceration, and also keys that folks with experience in our field, with experience in policy, readily share. And this is just given freely to us as a cohort. It's amazing. And ultimately, the greatest benefit is access. I learned a few years ago from an OG in this field, Sarita Steib, from Operation Restoration. I learned from her that the only thing she asked for was a seat at the table. So when we talk about this HEP field or any social justice movement, which is ultimately what this is at the end of the day, we talk about access. To have those who are directly impacted and thus who are experts on mass incarceration, experts on incarceration in their state, experts on incarceration nationally, providing access or just having a seat at the table is really where these policy conversations happen and is where the greatest impacts happen. And that's the platforms provided by the EdTrust, provided by THEI, provided by Unlock Higher Ed, et cetera, et cetera. These are the collaborations and the platforms that we use to push these policy agendas and that are of greatest service to us. So I will leave it at that. I don't want to be too long-winded, and will happily, Judith, unless you want to jump in, hand it to my cohort colleague, Adam Lay, to continue the conversation.
Absolutely. Adam, welcome to our team, and kick it off. Did we lose Adam or?
Sorry, I'm at work right now. I had to step away real quick.
No problem.
Yes, to pick up where Barbie left off, my experience in advocacy and what led ultimately to me landing the Justice Fellowship really began post-incarceration. Well, also during my current incarceration, and where I was afforded the opportunity to a higher education program and to lead into an associate's, and I just basically, fell on the path of learning and going from there, just to really just to further myself and help turn the situation I was in for a positive, right? Because I knew that facing this situation, I could become a drastically different person on one end of the spectrum, negatively or positively. So I did everything in my possible ability to be able to really just further my education, further myself, and help myself grow. And then when I discovered, barriers to me furthering my own personal education, namely like, access to Pell when they took that out, other certain situations that led me to have to stall my own personal growth, and I got into helping the others through a tutor program with that higher education program. And that higher education program actually affords other roles for formerly incarcerated individuals to help with reentry also. So they invest in you and they help you grow when you're currently incarcerated with access to education and degrees, a degree program. And then they keep investing in you when you're released. So thankfully, I used myself as a litmus test upon my release, which was in the middle of COVID. 2020, I was released, and I was faced with so many obstacles and barriers personally to just where do I begin and where do I start? And for my own personal growth, as far as learning, I was incarcerated for 20 years from a young age, so the tech learning curve was automatic. The first and foremost barrier I had to overcome to be able to succeed anywhere in any avenue of my life. Then it comes immediately to transportation, and then housing, and then jobs, and building credit. And in every aspect of every category you're faced, there are limitations that deal with post-incarceration, having felonies on your record. There's always a barrier to have to overcome with dealing with your past in these situations. So I really started to use and examine myself again with my care for others, and using myself to help overcome these obstacles so that I could pass that knowledge on to other individuals, just as I did during my incarceration. I'm trying to help others gain, understand, first of all, that there is access to higher education that will help you grow and help you succeed if you'll just take advantage of it and then seeing it through and then helping guide them, through that kind of a program and that kind of thought process to show that, hey, this can work. And so that's what I started to do with myself. And I immediately started doing everything I can to overcome these barriers and obstacles and to face them head on, and then use that knowledge and ways around these obstacles or over these obstacles to pass that on. And that basically developed into a situation where I realized that, during COVID, we're doing things by Zoom meetings mostly. And so me and some other colleagues that were formerly incarcerated individuals who had been a part of this program, and started to advocate and delve off into reentry aspects of helping these guys. We got together and we formed a Zoom for these individuals to help when they come out, give them the knowledge and the aspects of what they're going to face. Just getting your ID, just being able to go and get a driver's license, you're faced with obstacles. And many people that might be stubborn or ready to give up, we're always worried, okay, hey, you can do this. There's ways to do this. It's this, you can do this way, and eventually help them grow and succeed. And that has led me to, once again, coordinate with a lot of these individuals. One of them being on this Zoom meeting now, Roger Jackson, and then other individuals who have helped advocate also for reentry and post-secondary education for formerly incarcerated people. And so it just sparked that advocacy, and it showed me that, hey, there are people out here, there are programs out here that are there, and they have resources for you, and they're doing everything they can to help you grow and succeed. And you just have to first know about them. And that's one of my biggest things is, people don't search for it. They think that they can do it on their own. They're too stubborn to ask for help sometimes. Me growing up as an institutionalized male, you're faced with these things where you don't ever want to ask for help from people sometimes if you go that mindset. And that can also put you in a very detrimental place, to where you'll just go back to what I've heard some people give the terms, oh, I can always fall back to the streets, and it's a very, very bad mindset if people don't realize the resources that are available, and that we constantly need to help grow and expand these resources for these individuals. And I know personally that education was profound to my success as a person, and as success as an employee, to success as a manager, to now success to help others in advocacy role. And I thank God for that opportunity, that it's led me to be around individuals that are in these spaces, that are doing great work, that have that advocacy heart, that know and see the things that the world needs, that these individuals need, and to help push and strive in policymaking and organizing and coalitions, and just being able to come together and just be able to really attack these things head on and provide the things that these individuals need, that I know that I needed.
Yeah, Adam.
Judith, can I have one more thing real quick?
Absolutely, you have time. I was just gonna say thank you, Adam, for that honesty as well. And Barbie, go ahead. I know there's a lot of benefits on the EdTrust program, and that's something that we want to encourage you guys, if applicable, to look into, because you're going to gain a lot of experience, knowledge, education, and support. Go ahead, Barbie.
Ditto, what Judith just said. Also to add to those things that Adam talked about, those things that we need our attention right now. We are heavily invested in the possible ramifications of the Georgia State decision. We have already seen from the Southern HEP Collective that just conversations coming from Georgia State is affecting potential PEPs from their creation. So we've actually seen in the state of Kentucky, these articles being used to dissuade administration from moving into the PEP world. What we want to ensure does not come from this is that, one, don't take it at face value. So what GSU is saying is giving for their reasons being those administrative burdens and the 180K downfall. Don't take those necessarily as face value and as the only reasons. I think two things. One, that 180K downfall has been filled in by an offer from Laughing Goal to cover that cost. Also, the administrative burdens that were listed are not required reporting status from the Department of Ed regulations, nor from the Georgia DC, Department of Correction in Georgia, nor from their application. So we don't want to see these reasons being used for other potential PEPs to go to waste, to leave the field, or to dissuade their creation. So we are heavily focused on this, and we'll definitely watch these outcomes and really try to catch that ripple effect before one comes. So we encourage any collaboration from any organization that's also talking about that. And we will also be doing work toward ensuring that we won't face this crisis in the future of being unprepared for how to respond to this, I think.
Barbie, thank you for bringing that up. Can I maybe suggest to this group, and I know it's not on the agenda, just so maybe for a later conversation, but with the Southern HEP Collective, we wrote a letter of support, I guess you could call it, just articulating, our position as an organization. I think that would be a really great effort, maybe on the behalf of Unlock Higher Ed as well. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, on behalf of some of the other members, if they're interested in knowing that, we can forward that letter as well. I want to ask something though. If we have seen that, this is the excuses, if you will, of what they're using to shut this program down, that these are not relevant or not necessarily, accurate. What is their real intention? I mean, what is the real intention of why they're really closing this down, so that we can, I guess, have some kind of, negotiation, if you will, so that we can, further pursue this work that it's been so hard to come about and not lose it all. You know what I mean? Like, what is their real intention, so that we can hear what their concerns are and really, really pose some kind of solutions to those, because it seems to me like what they're using is really a scapegoat.
Yeah, and that's what makes this one so dangerous, is that everyone is trying to say, okay, like, what is, just break it down. What's the real reason? Like, there are so many organizations, so many individuals, so many coalitions, and even funders saying, we are ready to help and we are ready to step in. And this is what you said. Well, here's the answer to this part. So, like, what makes this so dangerous is that, I mean, it's a line that we got to write. Like, there are no accusations being tossed, but I thoroughly believe that there's more to the story, and we can't just like narrow it down to things that may to have a ripple effect. So, yes, if we could all like say, what's the real reason? Get to the real reason, work through it. But that's what makes this dangerous, is that we're all speculating, really.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, because much of that, like, it just invalidates all the hard work that's been done. And it's fearful that other states, as you mentioned, may get on that bandwagon and, say, well, it didn't work here, so why even bother in here? And so, kind of defeats all that hard work that we're trying to push forward. And it comes in a time where there's opportunities and access. So it's kind of contradicting. We should be moving forward, as opposed to this I guess, hurdle that we're experiencing right now in this area.
Yeah, you're right. In preparation for incoming PEPs, we've prepared to keep like bad actors out of the space, but now we have good actors trying to leave the space, and we're like, hold up, stay, and we want to expand. We want to make sure that we're providing student services, et cetera, not just getting folks who are Pell money hungry in the field. We thought those were our who we would be combating. This one was unexpected, I think.
Meg, you have a question?
Oh, sorry.
I was just looking for more information about that decision, and somebody just, I think Meg just posted some background to it. Thank you.
I was just gonna add, it's not, I think that like the people, like I want the people, like there are people who, and it will be recorded. So if you can't make the thing, hopefully we'll be able to share that with you. They might not want to share it publicly. But what I do know that is public knowledge is that GSU has also made moves to shut down their like women, gender, and sexuality studies major, and maybe even their African American studies major. So it feels like there's political stuff happening that you can't necessarily say like, oh, we don't, yeah, exactly, Barbie, DEI. We see this as a DEI thing and we're just politically against that.
Good point. Thank you for sharing that part. And maybe we can be on the lookout for further information once it becomes available. Meg? And so we have another hand up, Stan or Mickey.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Great conversation. I just wanted to, point to, I think this GSU, situation that we're talking about, I think does play as, I think, Barbie, I think you just mentioned the bad actors piece. I was on the NEGREG, and I think this was part of what we feared is that we would put so much regulation in that tried to keep bad actors out that we would actually push good actors out, because we make it so challenging. I think someone just mentioned that it's not like the reporting that's the issue, that's stated, but I know from like some conversations that there's a little bit of that in play in terms of the money that's needed, right? Because they mentioned like a lack of money, but in order to fulfill some of those reporting aspects, you need like stronger capacity. So those things, the additional pieces to try to keep bad actors out, I think is playing a little bit of a role in this here.
Thank you.
Well, and the fact is, Dan, there really is no lack of money. Now, it can be costing these programs their own dollars, but there is support, lots of support and grant funding out there, whether it's the Digital Equity Act, whether it's workforce dollars to the state or national level, whether it's specific state and community college grants. There is funding for this besides the students having access to the Pell. And so I think from my role, that seems to be the biggest conversation I'm having all the time, every day, is explaining to people the path to create this, that they're not feeling like it's in the too hard pile from a financial sense.
Absolutely. Brenda?
Yeah, I have a question. When you did your Hill visits, did anybody meet with the Georgia delegation? Because if so, and they were supportive, need to reach out to them right away and see what they can do also to work with the institution.
We did.
At least put pressure on them.
We did meet with the Georgia congressional office, and we left some literature, but we can definitely follow up with them.
I would definitely follow up with them and reference your visit and ask them what they're going to do to ensure that the program doesn't disappear. I just think you need to put as much, it is political, I believe, a political decision. And so we need to put political pressure on the institution in as many ways as we can.
Agree, Brenda. Great advice.
Great advice. Thank you. Any other questions? What things can we be, or should we be mindful or looking for in our, respective communities or in the work that we're doing, so we don't fall in that trap, if you will. So what should we be mindful of in our communities or in our state areas? What are some red flags so that we can, quickly anticipate those issues and perhaps work through them so that it doesn't get to the level where Georgia has gotten to?
Well, I do think one of the efforts is to identify in all of our states who are the champions for the work. Are there champions in the governor's office? Are there champions in the employer community? And just make sure that they're also speaking up on behalf of our students. So I think it's really important to build the way Barbie has actually in Tennessee, a consortium of a coalition of the willing who will really fight for our students and our programs.
Absolutely. Thank you for that advice. Anna?
Yes, thank you. Specifically, I was directly affected by a program during my incarceration, pulling out of a PEP program, and I experienced it firsthand how it is. And so when I see that, it's like, I see all these other states that have these coalitions put together, the protections that you're stating, and then me being from Texas, right? We didn't have a lot of this, right? There's not a lot. There are some inroads, like some programs that are doing it great, that are successful at it. And it's like, okay, can we get these people to outline like how they're successful at it? Why did GSU not reach out to people to say, hey, how are you doing your programs? How is it successful? How is it helping us? And I see like states like California and what y'all are doing in Tennessee and states in the northern states that are doing all of these things. They have all these policies and practices and these coalitions there to support people. And it's like in Texas, it's like, hey, we're out, and then they don't have these things already, a pre-plan of attack or a coalition together or, resources they could reach out to. There are there, and there are people that definitely would help. And like I reached out to the person from GSU and put them into contact with the successful PEP program that I was a part of and what they're doing and how they're being successful at it, so that maybe they could present a plan of attack when they do, or if they do decide to come back in to that space, to be more successful at it, to be less fearful of having to pull out.
Absolutely. It's about
Add to that, Judith?
it's about community building. And with that, I will definitely bring it out to our state subcommittee chair, because this is one of the things that are extremely relevant to that group and what we're trying to work towards in this coalition. So, Cece?
Absolutely. So as most of you know, a lot of familiar faces, I am chair of the state committee, co-chair with Barbie, and kind of co-chair with Sheila, because what we are working on collaboratively is how, as a national and state committee, we really are aligned on the same initiatives. I mean, we really started working together and having our meetings together for Hill Day, and we found that all of our initiatives were aligned. And so in the essence of time and to be most effective, that is a consideration for us to continue going down that path. And we wanted to talk to the group in regards to that. In regards to this conversation that we're having now, this is a really important component, as I see it, as we move forward with Unlock Higher Ed and how we align our initiatives for education. Because while it is a lot about PEP and getting through that process, there's so many factors and so many specific state initiatives. And I think it would really benefit our group if very specifically we focus on the states that we have members in, and also secondarily the states that we know are high impact states in this arena. Even if we don't have members, we are going to find members from those states. That's my opinion. Louisiana, there was just an article out today that they have taken away the requirement for their high school seniors to complete a FAFSA upon graduation. Now that may seem like one small thing, but it can have a lot of ripple effects when we're talking about the fact that now in school, they're not completing that. and having that opportunity to qualify for Pell, whether it's regular Pell or if it's through a PEP program. And so really as a group, I think for us to be able to align all of the things happening that are really pertinent to the states and moving forward on those initiatives so that when we go to Hill Day, our policies are so aligned and so ingrained in our head, and we already have movement that's happening all year long. Because while Hill Day was fantastic, it just takes continual work. You can't just go to Hill Day and then never talk to these people again. So what do you say, right? What do you say each time? We could be a very, very strong voice. This is an amazing group. I have to say, I feel blessed, really, that when I first started working specifically in this arena in higher education and working with reentry and the PEP programs, unlike higher ed, and then Barbie, thank you, THEI, Southern HEP, I mean, really those two groups just helped to build my knowledge base and find all of you people that are a voice, whether you have experience or not in that arena, or whether you're leading your own organization or you have a connection in the higher education world. It's so important that we have a strong voice collaboratively together. I work in multiple states, and I find that that is really our biggest gap from making movement forward, is that every time one state moves forward, another state moves back. Well, as we see it with Georgia, when a state moves back, it can move us all back. We can prevent that, I believe. Sheila.
Yeah, it's the Georgia situation is very unfortunate, and I think there's probably a lot more behind it than we know. Certainly more than the stated reasons. I think sometimes in a college, leadership changes where you did have committed, interested leaders, and you no longer have those champions, can have a big impact on program continuation. I think they did have a committed faculty, but sometimes that's not enough. But as far as the committees joining, I am supportive of the state and federal working together. The actual work may look different, but should always pull in the same direction. On the last go around for Hill Day, the federal committee came up with its 6 priorities, and it's great that we got Hill Day and we got people going at that federal level. But now the next step is in the state level. Let's take those same messages to the states. So it's almost now a mini rollout across the states needs to happen with the same messaging. And, so from a federal perspective, we're going to try to come up with refreshed and new priorities, while the state committee is trying to roll out the messages to local offices, which may be the same people we met with at the federal level, but we want to continue those conversations and reinforce them at the local level, because we know legislators react well to knowing that there is local interest in an item. So it's going to be when Judith says we're going to do another Hill Day, Sheila starts to shake a little bit and go, I'm still in recovery. We have to do this again. Okay. And Meg Galind is no longer going to return any of my phone calls because I lean so heavily on her for material prep. But I think it's great to see some momentum going.
Brenda?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, if I might, that I think it's really important, and you both, Sheila and Cece, mentioned this, that the Hill Day can't be a one-off event. I think it's really important to also build relationships with your congressional delegation's district office. And they're the ones that schedule the member when they're back in the districts, and invite them to your programs, invite them to your graduations. Even if they come and just say hi, let them hear directly from your students. I just think you have to continually build relationships, not only at the state level, as Cece mentioned, but with our congressional delegation, and have a relationship with the district staff. They are different than the folks in DC. And so it's good to have a relationship with both. I just want to make that point.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. And again, these are new goals that we have and focuses that we're going to have for this year in preparation for our much more impactful Hill Day. As you guys heard, we did impact tremendously. And the visits that we had, the representation of the states that we have, and we encourage you guys to join this force of advocacy and collaboration, because again, it's all about each and individual state, not only at the federal level, but also at the states, because if it starts with one state dwindling out, it's an opportunity for other states to follow suit. And we don't want to miss out on that hard work that's been done all this time. So we want to continue that work forward. So relationship building and continuous collaboration. I will also just quickly mention that our membership subcommittee is focusing now on getting us some grants and fundraising opportunities. So you will be receiving emails as a member. If you have any opportunities out there, any pursuits that you think we should be looking into that aligns with our goals and our mission in this coalition, please forward it to us so that we can look into furthering our work, not only for Hill Day, but for all the advocacy that we're doing at local levels. In addition to that, I'll bring it to our, actually, I want to introduce our events new subcommittee chair, Trip Taylor, which one of the focuses that he had mentioned was also about that, as to collaborating each and every state at the each members at the state level. So Trip, I see your vision becoming a reality as we speak in this meeting again. So welcome on board and appreciate you being in this space. And lastly, a couple of announcements. But I'm going to give my colleague here, Mickey, a few minutes to speak about the media messaging subcommittee before we close out. Mickey?
Yeah, thanks, Judith. Here, let me fix pinning. I'm always in the background, so it's interesting when I come to the foreground. I do want to say, and I do want to echo some of the words that we've had and we've discussed so far this evening about keeping up with those legislators. Most of you should have gotten business cards from your legislator. And if you didn't get your legislator's email address, please email me at mickey@prisontopro.org. I would be happy to get your legislator their address. I also want to let you know, on behalf of Unlock Higher Education, we sent thank you letters to each and every one of the legislators to touch base, but we want to continue that discussion. We want to continue building those relationships. We want to continue inviting them and engaging them, especially in your district office and other places. On other words, when we're discussing that, don't forget that we still do have social media going, and I am being a pain in everyone's butt. I'm constantly emailing, I'm constantly putting social media posts, and our speaker series is now on YouTube. We will be catching up the past speaker series on YouTube. So you'll be able to pull up all the training and advocacy that we've had thus far and all the different speakers that we've had in the last 12 months, which is super exciting for me. We've got a lot more things coming up, but I wouldn't want to let the cat out of the bag. Just stick with us, keep looking for leadership roles, and keep being a part of it. We're going to continue growing and making things better. Thanks, Judith.
Great, thank you so much. And again, I'm so thankful for this community and all the work that each of you have put into this effort and this collaboration. One of the things I want to mention is that because next month our meeting falls on a holiday, we will be having it on May 20th. So it will not be on the last Monday of the month. It will be the week before that. So be on the lookout for that information. But again, this is a standing meeting for every month on the last Monday of the month, except for May 20th of next month. We do welcome you guys and encourage you guys to participate in this work. I mean, if this is what your role is this is what your mission is this is what your passion is, this is the space of experts. This is a space of community building. This is a space of, collaboration and pushing those best practices forward. Not only from this group, learning from this group, but also bringing it to your hometown, bringing it to your local communities and implementing it there. So if you want pathways for, best practices for access to higher education, this is a place to be. So, we welcome you guys. We hope to see you guys again, and please bring a friend next time. Again, thank you so much. And this concludes our meeting for this week.
Good to see everyone.
Yay.